What is the story? Back with a car chat after a couple of weeks of not doing them. So try catch you up over the course of about 10 minutes. I was sick as fuck, like so sick the last like 2 weeks. I did get some training done, but that was ultimately why I chose not to do the December Open, which I'm sure if you followed along, you saw my name wasn't on the list. Not that anybody was keeping score, except maybe Rob Lynch and a few of the lads in City Gym. But in any case, so we had the December Open and this weekend. Today is Tuesday, Tuesday the 16th. I'm about to do a training session here in my local gym. I'm trying to catch up on all my check-ins and admin after the weekend, but just taking a break while the baby's asleep. In any case, looking back over the course of the weekend, I don't know if you guys were following along on the lifting cast or on the live stream. It was a phenomenal competition and a really great way to finish out what has been a stacked year of comps. I couldn't be happier with the team that we brought. There was some excellent performances, some very ballsy attempts, but I'll talk through as much as I can. So generally speaking, there's this kind of like idea in powerlifting that like your lifters should be finishing, ideally if there's nothing to play for, 9 for 9, 8 for 9 if you're going to take one risky attempt, and at least like at best 7 for 9. Now, obviously I've had people do worse than that. I've done worse than that myself. Sometimes you just have shit meets. Sometimes you have everything in the peak that indicates you're going to have a fantastic performance and it just doesn't come up on the day. This can be down to nutrition, stress, carrying too much fatigue into the meet. Loads of different reasons I could get into in another video if you're interested. But in any case, every single person we brought the whole team went 8 for 9, 9 for 9. We had 2 lifters that went 7 for 9 for a myriad of different reasons, but still, I would consider that a fantastic success. We had a couple of podium finishes. I had a couple of people who probably could have taken first, but ended up in second just due to more conservative attempt selection, and a good few people who claimed a couple of third spots, which is great for an Open. And I'm not going to lie, some of these flights at this December Open were incredibly competitive. Obviously, a lot of very strong lifters wanted to get a meet in before the end of the year. I did speak to a couple of the event coordinators, like the Tracy Kelly and some of the people behind the IrishPF and the calendar. They always say December meets are like late in the year, seem to be really popular, and then the first meet of the year, so in this case coming into 2026 February Open, those ones tend to take a bit longer to sell out. I think it's because like people are like, they've had Christmas or into New Year's, probably don't want to try and have to make weight and things like that, whereas December, I think it's just appealing to people, but for whatever reason anyway. So the competition was in City Gym in Limerick and it was excellent. I was very, very happy with it. I've been to, I don't know, at least half a dozen meets in City Gym. I've spotted and loaded there. I've brought many lifters there. We were there for juniors and masters nationals one year. I can't remember. We were there for like a couple of opens. Last time I was there was the October Open in 2023. And I know they've only run one other meet since, which was the November Open last year in 2024. I wasn't at that because it was the same weekend as an AB series. So it was great to be back. I've a lot of great things to say about the people that run City Gym. Garben, Alex Krement's coaches there. A lot of their young lifters are very, very good, very strong. They have their own way of doing things. They have a nice amount of flair and like there's this wild element to them I quite like. But anyway, the gym, it's small space. The warm-up room was tight, but they had changed up the layout a little bit, so there was like a tunnel that wrapped around the back and you came out the other side, which was a great change. And I think it really made the space a lot more accessible, a lot easier to navigate. The racks themselves, the way they're laid out, isn't great. You're quite tight on space, but like it's a gym, so we'll make do what we do. Everyone got the warm-ups done anyway. The only negative feedback I've gotten from lifters is they weren't a fan of how the weigh-ins worked, because the weigh-ins are like up a stairs, and they said they just couldn't hear them being called. So I suppose the only real workaround is just turn off the music. I know the lads like to have a bit of background music during the weigh-ins, or in other gyms I've seen there's no music playing whatsoever. So maybe that's a thing. But in any case, looking at the performances, many standouts. I almost feel like I need to go through everyone to justify it, because like no one had a bad day. Everyone did really, really well. So I'd almost feel like if I only picked like 5 or 6, it does an injustice to the rest of them. We had 18 lifters from my team lifting overall. Was meant to be 20. Obviously, I had pulled out, and one of my other guys, Matt, ended up falling very, very sick this week, so he had to pull out at the last minute, which was unfortunate because he is quite a strong lad, and I do think he was cooking up a pretty big total. But in any case, well, I'm trying to think who stands out. So Nadine Cooney and Paul Walsh had their first 9 for 9 days, which was brilliant. Paul is coming off the back of like a weight cut, just for like aesthetic reasons. So he's coming in lighter. The only lift I think he didn't get a personal best on was squat. So I think we finished 7.5 kilos under his best squat. And that was just being a bit conservative. The last couple of weeks of training, I think he had tweaked his back a small bit. So we were just being conservative there. But bench, smoked it, and deadlift smoked it. First time going 3 for 3 on bench, so it was a nice little meme for us. His first 9 for 9, so I was delighted with that. He's a great guy. I think he has a big total in him now coming into the new year. He's just one of those people that, like, the more they're in it, they just continuously add kilos and they learn from any mistakes they make. So the reason I say that is because I think there's this like thing in powerlifting, particularly younger lifters, where they don't look at the averages. They look at who's the best and why are they better than me and why have they got international after fewer meets than me, or how come they did one open and immediately qualified for nationals and then podiumed. Like, that's not the experience of most people that compete in powerlifting. Most people will strive for years to just make a national standard. I remember seeing a barbell medicine post years ago, or it was, I think Austin Baraki was doing a Q&A, and somebody asked him, how long on average does it take to train to the national standard for, like, I think it was like USAPL or whatever. I think it was back when that was an IPF affiliate. And he was like, the reality is most people can train their whole lives and not make a national standard, because nationals is a hard standard to make. And I think that's applicable. Like, Ireland has an excellent talent pool, particularly for how young the sport is here, like in its current form. So the fact that we do have so many people that like are striving or just about to hit that national standard speaks volumes to the amount of progress people are willing to put in, like how much time people are willing to put in the progress they make. So it's one of those things that, like, I think you got to look at the averages of how that person is progressing as opposed to like where they're, how far they are off the nationals qualifier or whatever. So in any case, Paul did really well. Nadine did brilliantly. So Nadine is, after she's lost a good bit of weight since she started. She had like an up and down year, some great things happening, some stressful things happening, but this was her first 9 for 9 day and a huge total PB. I think her last total was 312.5 and this was 340 with more in the tank as well. So that was great to see. She's someone that's really committed to the process, particularly since her last meet in July, and just taking the lessons from that meet, applied them to this. I think Nadine could do extremely well in 2026, again coming in very, very strong and a lot of momentum built up now. Then Emma Kelly, I think, is the one I'll definitely talk about next. So Emma competes under 57 kilos junior. Still like relatively new to the sport. I think this was her 3rd meet. So she's done an abs teens, 1 IrishPF in July. I think she finished on 257 or 252 maybe. So she really wanted to try and push for the nationals qualifying total, which is 290. And that is a tall order to make that kind of progress at that body weight in that amount of time, July to December. And like most other people that are like studying and things like that, a lot of external stressors, a lot of other things taking up time. So coming into it, I was like, we're going to have to really have our best possible day to even have a chance of scraping this total. So I knew we needed a minimum of a 90 squat, a 55 bench, and it would mean we'd have to load a 145 deadlift. Now, personally, I was like, I am going to like put my foot down and be like, unless we're coming into the last pull 8 for 8, we're not risking anything. We're just going to have a conservative day. But she got the 90 squat, she got the 55 bench, and there wasn't a whole lot of kilos left. Maybe a little bit more on the squat, but I think that was as much as we were going to get on the bench for that day. So we took a 120 open and deadlift, moved great. 127 second, which moved grand. So my gut instinct was to maybe go 135, but she needed 145. So I came back and I said, do you want to go to junior nationals? She's like, I'm going to junior nationals. I'm getting this lift. I will, like, there was no chance she was going to give up. So we loaded the 145, and mother of God, if you haven't seen the video, check Emma Kelly or Absolute Emma's page, or I think she's a TikTok as well, and watch her try and grind that deadlift. She just couldn't get the hips through and the shoulders back. I think it was just a loss of position off the floor, but it's also 25 kilos over what had been her previous competition max. So in the IrishPF. So like, I cannot believe how close she got. She still finished on a total PB. She finished on 272.5, and now we're just hoping we can get a ticket for the February Open off the wait list, because that was a gargantuan effort, and now it fills me with a lot of confidence that she can do it if we can get the February ticket, particularly because she weighed in over 2 kilos under the weight class. I think she was like 54 point something, so she could realistically be 2 kilos up, and that would probably give her better leverages for the squat, for the bench, and give her that little bit of staying power on the deadlift. So that's my hope. I know I'm already almost at the 10-minute mark, but I'll go here for another couple of minutes, so forgive me for the longer upload. Kiva McLaughlin then was another one who's had a stellar year of training and really put together some excellent numbers. We were having a brilliant training block all through summer, and then suddenly she was stricken down with like this weird illness that she had to be admitted to hospital for. So it was quite a bad like infection. Lost a good bit of weight, missed a couple of weeks of training. So we were just trying to get like back up to a good training standard. And I think we had just about gotten there, but it just wasn't enough on the day for us to push for what we wanted in the qualifying total. She did manage a squat personal best, and we finished 2.5 kilos off her best bench, which is quite impressive because anyone who knows bench is the one that needs the most frequent training to stay good. Then deadlifts. So her best in the IrishPF, I think, is 122.5. So I put 125 on the bar. It was 10 kilos up from her second attempt. The reality is we could have matched and finished with a matched total. And that would have probably been fine. But I thought it would be a nice victory lap if we can just get a little deadlift PB as well. Obviously, it was just a bit too much on the day. But c'est la vie. We have a ticket for February. So I think now that she's accrued all the volume and kind of gotten a good run of training, if we can keep that momentum going, she will do extremely well in February and potentially push the qualifying total for under 63. Then who else did we have? Kira Kyo, second IrishPF meet from July, down an entire weight class. I think just under 7 kilos down since July. Has gotten married in that time and still finished on a 7.5 kilo total PB on a 7 for 9 day. There were a couple of attempts. I take ownership of the squat. So she took 140 for a second. It moved brilliantly. So I was like 147. I probably should have done 142 or 145. I think it was just too much of a jump. I think I got over eager. Smoked her benches, 72.5 third, which was easy enough. And then deadlifts, very confident in her ability to pull. So we loaded 160 and got it off the floor fine. I think just a little bit too amped, a little bit too excited. Something that just comes with experience. You learn to keep yourself composed. And just there was a small bit of, she extended her knees a bit early. So there was a little bit of like a double movement. So it cost her the attempt. She locked it out fine and all, but just a small bit of double movement in the bar. So c'est la vie, but still a big total PB at almost 7 kilos lighter on the body weight. I think Kier will be lifting at nationals, if not next year, the year after. Like, she's got that upward momentum in her training, and I see no reason she couldn't be at that level. So I'm excited to see where she goes. Then Kate Dunn is another one who, over the last year, has dropped down an entire weight class and just somehow gotten stronger. She competed in July, got 287.5 total. This meet, 315. That is outrageous progress, particularly on the bench. It was a 10 kilo bench personal best, which is just ridiculous progress on the bench press, particularly going down weight, which I'm sure most of you know. You'll see the opposite trend for most people, where as they drop weight, they actually lose the leverages for bench. For some reason, for Kate, it's just gotten 10 times better. So she's another one I'm very eager to see her continue to progress and see where we can really push it. Particularly into the new year, I would not be surprised if at this rate of progress she was finishing near enough a 400 kilo total by the end of 2026, assuming we can keep this rate of progression, momentum and commitment. I'm trying to think who else. Sarah McLaughlin, probably one of my favourite performances from the weekend. Sarah is someone, like, Sarah loves powerlifting. Sometimes it fucking pisses me off because she's so into it and what everyone's doing and what people's totals are and like what she needs to get and what she needs to do. And it's like she's so fucking into it. I'm like, Sarah, just fucking focus on yourself. But she did at this meet. She was actually way more like logical and introspective than maybe I was. She took everything as a conservative third attempt. It was her second meet in the under 76 weight class after coming up from the under 69s, which is a challenge for anyone, but particularly like you're a young girl, you know what I mean? There's obviously negative stigmas surrounding gaining weight, but obviously she looks great. She's gained a lot of muscle mass and she blew her best total out of the water. Her best total was 345 before this meet. She got 360 at this on an extremely conservative day. I think there was a 140 squat and 80 bench and maybe another 7.5 on the deadlift as well. So excited to see what Sarah does now. Our next meet's probably going to be Junior Nationals. I'm very excited there. I would not be surprised if Sarah is pushing for podium at Junior Nationals. I think she's got it in her, and the way she's managed to progress over the course of this year has been outstanding. Like, her last meet was August and she blew that total out of the water and just gone from strength to strength. I'm just very excited. I think it's one thing we talked about years ago. We were all training in a gym in Swords called Integrity, and Sarah, Kiva and another guy, a coach named Aaron, were there, and I was like, you all have the potential to get international caps in your junior careers. I know Aaron doubted it, but he's extremely close. And then Sarah is extremely close. And I think before Kiva ages out, she'll be someone that's there as well. But Sarah, like I think now, just like I think back, I think Sarah's total at the time was like 300 kilos. So to see how much progress she's made in the last like 18 months, 60 kilos of her total is ludicrous by any measure, but 60 kilos added on a very easy day makes me optimistic for a 400 plus total coming into this year's Junior Nationals. Trying to think if I'm forgetting any of the girls. I don't think I am. It was a great weekend. It's such a good weekend. It's hard to remember absolutely everyone because there's so many standout performances. And like I said, I want to try and name off everyone and the things that stood out to me about how they did. What I'll do is I might do another one of these about the lads. But for now, all I'll say is I could not be more grateful for the crew that I have. And this is not like a fucking blowing smoke up people's whole thing, but like so many of our lifters came down just to support, like sit in the audience. So many came just to help in the warm-up room. So like Amy Higgins, Aaron O'Dea, Shauna Rahman, they just came down to help. Amy McGarry, Shauna's girlfriend. How could I forget? Amy matched her best total in a lower weight class, which is huge. That's like, I really can't put into words how much of a difference it makes to your leverages when you go down a weight class. So Amy's going to be consistently competing now in the under 63 kilo weight class, and she met her best total. So the last time she competed under 63, she finished on a 270 total. This was 287.5 and third place in the weight class for this meet on a 7 for 9 day. So I think getting to 300 plus in the new year is very achievable, and just continuing to progress after that. Like Amy's gone through the ringer this year in her personal life. I'm not going to get into that. It's not my business, but I know she's had to move house. We did a photo shoot prep during the summer, so completely pivoted away from strict powerlifting training. It's been just a hell of a year. And it's just one of those things I think one of the greatest things about coaching is getting to see a little bit of the other side of what people have to go through, and then just seeing their 9 minutes on the platform. And people like don't understand how much people have to overcome to get there. Like there are people that like their whole life is just, I go to the gym, I go home, my Mac cooks my dinner, I count my macros, I go to bed, I play PlayStation with my mates. You know what I mean? And that's it. Like maybe they have a job. But there's other people who are like getting married, moving houses, having kids, overcoming chronic illness, just to get on the platform and do their best. So it's one of the things I love about the sport. I think it can be so easy to just boil people down to like, oh, that's their total. You know what I mean? Whereas you can really just see how much I can see, particularly from the few of the people I've named, how much work they've put in just to be able to do this at this level. And I'll always be grateful that I can say that this is my job. So I'm going to go in and do that training now. This is nearly 20 minutes. I'll do one on the lads later, but thanks for listening. Obviously, I'll keep these going. If anyone wants me to talk about any bullshit in particular, let me know. But I have a couple of other topics in the back of my mind I want to talk about, including things about personal trainers, coaching experiences, positive and negative, and other. I want to look forward to 2026 and kind of earmark a few things I'm looking forward to. And then I'll probably just think of other bullshit things to give out about. So anyway, have a good one. I'll talk to you later.